Hello and welcome. My name is Keith Lander. I'm going to be the host of the show called News on Saturday. I'm coming from the Tabernacle Baptist Church studio, and I want to thank the Tabernacle Baptist Church for giving me this opportunity to present this news show to you. It'll be on a regular basis, and I hope you will enjoy it. The first topic, as always, it's voting time, folks. Voting, voting, voting. The ballots will be mailed out to individuals starting on October the 6th. Once you get your ballot, make sure that everything on that ballot, every question that they ask you is answered, and make sure, I think you have to sign it, date it, make sure you do all that. When you put it in the envelope they give you, you can take it down to the drop-off box at 451 West 3rd, Dayton, Ohio, which is the Board of Elections. Now, if you do choose to mail in your ballot, if you're going to mail in your ballot, I suggest you mail in your ballot as quickly as you can return it. Now, you're going to have to pay the postage on that, and the postage depends on what county you're in. Montgomery County, it's 55 cents. Other counties, it's a little higher. And the reason for the different prices is because certain ballots are going to be bigger than other county ballots because of what's on the ballot in that county. And here locally in Montgomery County, I want to make sure that people understand when they do get that ballot or they do go and vote early, that you're not only going to see the president election on that ballot choice, but you're also going to see Ohio State Senate seats, and those district goes in the following. That's Ohio State Senate District 6, District 39, District 40, District 41, and District 43. All those districts will be on the ballot, people running for those seats. Now, if you don't know who these people are, if you don't know which district you represents you in that area, then I suggest you can call the Board of Elections at 937-225-5656. That's 937-225-5656. And that's the Board of Election. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. So if you don't know who district you're in statewide, call the Board of Elections. They can help you out. Also on that ballot, you will see people running for the Montgomery County Commission seats. You will see the Montgomery County Prosecuting Attorney is up for election. Montgomery County Clerk of Courts is up for election. Montgomery County Recorder, Montgomery County Treasurer, Montgomery County Engineer, Ohio Supreme Court judges, Montgomery County Engineer, Common Pleas Court judges, and also Common Pleas Court Probate Division judges. So there's a lot more people on that ballot than you probably expected, and so I just want you to be familiar with when you go in there and you see who's on the ballot and you have some idea of who these people are. And a good way to figure out who these people are, the League of Women Voters here in the city puts out an excellent publication every year, every time there's a voting. All the people, all the issues is all in this publication. You can get that publication. It's free. You can pick it up at the library. I just called the League of Women Voters last week, and they said it's in publication. It's going to be print. It's going to hit the streets. So I suggest you get that publication so that you familiarize yourself with who these people are and what seat are they running for. Now, we're going to move on. I have a scam alert. Maybe I'll get me a buzzer when I have a scam alert, because the scam alerts, I want to let people know what's out there because the con man never stops. This is from the Montgomery County Sheriff, Rob Streck, and what's happening is that individuals are calling people, telling these people that they're from the Sheriff's Department and you have a warrant for your arrest, and you have to pay your warrant. They want you to give you a credit card number or a bank card number or something like that. Now, that's a scam, all right? Don't fall for it. Sometimes these guys they got so good with the con that they even clone a sheriff's department number to make it look like it's come from the sheriff's department. According to the sheriff or ops direct, it's not from the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department does not send out or call people and have them pay on a warrant or whichever through a credit card or anything like that. Now, you can ask somebody who had a warrant on them, and they'll tell you, they didn't call me, they caught me when I got pulled over by a traffic stop. So let people know, if you get that call, and this guy says he's from the sheriff's department, and you gotta pay this fine and all that, don't do it. Record the number, call the sheriff's department, and let them know that this person has tried to scam you. That's a big thing. You know, I know we got, in this thing, to be scammed, you don't have to be a senior citizen. Young folks get scammed too. So pass that around so we won't get scammed. Since we are talking about the police department, I want to highlight a police department here, and that's the city of Kettering. The city of Kettering Police Department, the chief of police put out a letter, and they also updated some of the policies. Now, what this letter and what these policies are in reference to, this was in reference to the shooting that took place up in Minneapolis on May the 25th. Now, I won't read the whole letter. I'll read part of the letter. It says, citizens of Kettering, after the Census Act that occurred in Minneapolis on May 25th, 2020, there has been a lot of discussion surrounding police policies and police procedures, training, and accountability. We are aware that there is a troubling divide between our communities and their police agencies. Now more than ever, we need to bring police organizations and our communities together, as there is nothing more important than trust, mutual respect, and understanding. And the letter goes into a little bit more detail, but if you want to read this letter, you can go to the Kettering Police Department Facebook page, and you can find the letter. And also, I want to highlight some of the areas that they've changed their policy. I want to applaud the Kettering Police Department for doing this, because there was people who wanted some policy changes and some accountability, and they went on ahead and did it. They banned chokeholds back in 2015. Now, I didn't know that took place back in 2015, but they banned chokeholds back in 2015. They also required a de-escalation policy that went into effect in 2016. They also required a warning before shooting, and that went into effect since the early 1990s. So the Kettering Police Department has been on point. They've heard the citizens, and they've seen the protest, and they responded in what I believe an appropriate measure. And also, they require officers to exhaust all alternatives before shooting. And that policy been in place since 2008. And the other policies are a duty to intervene. Now, what that means is if the officers are standing by and they have one officer who is abusing his power against a citizen, it's the policy for those other officers to engage and stop that officer from doing what he shouldn't be doing. They also have a policy banning shooting at a motor vehicle. When a motor vehicle pulls off shooting at them, the only way that they say this policy, and that's been in place, that policy been in place since 2008. The duty to intervene been in place since 2020. And so the policy about shooting vehicles, that means if the vehicles is non-threatening, not threatening the life of public, not threatening the life of another officer, then they're not allowed to just shoot at that car and, they'll catch this guy at another time. They also have a policy that requires comprehensive reporting. So they want the reporting to be a little bit more than what they already had. And they also increased the hours of training. The hours of training increased. They have transparency, another policy that put into place. They have in-car cameras, and I didn't know this, but all the officers out in Kettering Police Department, they have a recording device, and that device records the sound and the conversation between officer and citizen, which is helpful. You know what I mean? Almost, it's not like a camera, but it's pretty close. We get to hear what happened. And they also have some community-oriented policing, and they also increased their police professional standards. So, like I say, I want to give the Kettering Police Department, give them kudos, because that is a step in the right direction. And so if there's any other police department out there that's doing anything similar to that, let me know and I'll showcase you also. But I will say this, Kettering, you're on point. You're definitely on point. We appreciate it, you know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of people knew that y'all had, the Kettering Police Department was engaged in doing this thing way back when in 2016 and 2015, and they're still updating their policies as, the years go by and they hear people and they respond. Appreciate you. The other story I wanted to get into is that I didn't know, that I read this article from Associated Press, and it says states face pressure to ban race-based hairstyle bias. So obviously that people are being discriminated against for their hairdo. And the hairdos that these people are being discriminated against is dreadlock, braids, and twists. So they have some organizations that have lobbied certain states to put in place and make sure that these individuals are not discriminated against. So far, it's been 1, 2, 3. I'll read the names of the states so far that has enacted hair ban discrimination. And the states are California, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Colorado, Washington, and Maryland. And there should be some more states who are taking up this policy. I think this article is from New Mexico. And the activists in New Mexico want the state legislators to take up this issue and duplicate what they've done in these other states, so that people can express themselves on their hairstyle any way they want. Because what happens is these companies that do this discrimination against hairstyles, like the 3 I just mentioned, they're doing a disservice to the company. Because some of these people are the most brightest people you ever want to run into. And I'll give you a good example of where the hairband and all that stuff, where it don't matter. That's in pro sports. Y'all seen some of these athletes in their hairdos, but I tell you what, they're the best in the business, and these owners know they're the best in the business, so these owners don't care how they wear their hair. And I don't either, quite frankly, as long as I can see some basketball and football and some sports. So the sports franchises, they got it right. Hopefully those in other sectors of employment will follow suit, because I hate to see people being banned for the hair. And if you remember, the high school wrestler that was at a wrestling tournament, and the referee told him he couldn't wrestle because he had to cut his hair. He had dreads, and the family sued, rightfully so, and I don't know where the case at because I couldn't find any more information on that case. But I just want to put that out there, and maybe some folks here in Ohio can look at the legislation from these other states and go down to the Ohio House of Representatives and put that out there. Hey, it's worth a shot. Discrimination of any kind, I'm totally against. I don't care what your sexual preference is, what your hairstyle is, what your lifestyle is. I'm against discrimination, and I'll fight for you so that you won't be discriminated. That's the way I am. So I'm not, you can't say you're against discrimination and say, well, I'm gonna let those people get discriminated against because I don't like the way their hair either. You know what I mean? You know, if I had hair, I would wear it some fashion, which I like, but I don't have any, so I'll leave it at that. So the next issue, you ever drive down the street and you look at a piece of property that's been there for years, and you drive down for years and you think, what is that? That's been there for years, and Nobody seems to know what it is. Well, I have one of those. What is that? And this project, it's located, this piece of property is located on the corner of Euclid and First Street. And it's surrounded by a fence. It takes up a whole block. It's got yellow brick buildings around it. And from the research, as I researched this thing, it was called the Dayton Project. And the Dayton Project was developed to produce the chemicals for World War II, and also develop some chemicals and the trigger for parts of this atomic bomb. And so what that property is on Euclid and First Street, that was used with petroleum, some other chemicals which were highly radioactive. That was used to make parts to go into this atomic bomb. Now, the thing is all fenced off and hadn't been used in years. And from the research, it's been on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. Now, I went over to that property. I walked around all sides of the fence. There's a hole in the fence. I could have went in there. There was a part of the gate which I pushed on. I could have slid on in there. The property just been left there. The grass is cut. Somebody knows it's there. The grass is being cut. But the bottom line is, I don't know what's in those buildings. Now, I've been a kid, and I know a piece of property like that, boy, if I seen that, I'd run over there and run underneath that gate and go in there and do whatever. There's an old forklift on the piece of property. There's some old skids on there. There were some drums that had petroleum on there. I don't know if any petroleum in there or not, or whatever else is in there. I didn't go in. I just seen this from the street. I didn't go in for the simple fact I didn't know what was in there, and I didn't want to get chased out of there. So for my safety, I didn't go in. Now, let me tell you what the people who worked there had to do before they came out of there as far as health and safety goes. The folks that worked in this place back in the 40s, they were, this says the Dayton Project employees were not allowed to eat or smoke in the processing area and had to scrub their hands before leaving these areas. The chemists were protected gear, surgical, cloth, rubber, gloves, worn in 3 layers. When leaving for lunch at the end of the shift, they had to wash their hands with diluted hydroxychloroquine acid, diluted Clorox, and soap. The radioactive residue on their hands was measured with a special geyser counter. So let me tell you something, folks. What they was doing in there, that stuff was dangerous. They had to suit up. Did you hear that? 3 sets of gloves, cloth face masks, and some other face masks, surgical masks, rubber masks. These folks had to dress up like a mummy going into that place and had to come out of that place and get sprayed with all kind of other chemicals that kind of diffuse the chemicals that they were already working with. And so that place is still sitting right smack dab in the neighborhood. There's houses right across the street. And I tried to research and did as much research as I possibly could. And what I found out was, according to this news release from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, that they went in and supposedly checked for the safety of any radiation coming out this place in March of 2001. And also, they put this news release out in October 14, 2005. And what they said was they had a series of informational sessions on October the 8th with reports and information on hand all day, they say, from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Dayton Cultural RTA Center, which is right over there at Edwin C. Moses. Now, I've been in this town all my life. I try to pay attention to what's going on. That's the first I've ever heard of that. So I'm going to put the call out. If anybody went to the Dayton RTA Cultural Center and seen these papers or these reports, I'd like to hear from you, because I hadn't found anybody who has. And the individual who also helped me research this thing tried to get information, tried to look at the reports, and they said the reports were sealed. And I'm thinking, you let people see them back in 2005, but you won't let people see them in 2020? That didn't sit too well with me. I thought something wrong here. And I may not be right, but I'm just looking at what this press release stated, and I'm thinking, man, if those chemicals were there, and this thing's supposed to be a historical site, shouldn't it be taken care of better than what it is? There's no signs. The signs that are there are rusted out. You can't read them because they're on the other side. I don't know what they say, like no parking sign. The grass was cut just recently, and the reason I know it was cut just recently because I seen a mask laying on the inside of the gate. So it was cut just recently. Somebody knows it's there, and somebody's cutting the grass, but they're not taking care of the fence. That fence along there is not real secure. It's got barbed wire, but somebody had cut part of the barbed wire off, so if I wanted to scale the fence and just step over the barbed wire, I could. Or if I wanted to go through the hole in the gate, I could. Or if I wanted to just push the fence and go in that way, I could. And this is the way you treat a historical site? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know much about historical sites, but usually you try to preserve them and in a better fashion than what this thing here is being preserved. And also, there's a church right across the parking lot. There's a church right there. I can't think of the name of it. If you want to see this thing, it's right in back of Mount Enid. Just drive down Euclid Street, and you'll see it right there on the corner of First and Euclid, right in the back of the church. So I want to put that out there because we need to be made aware of what's in our neighborhood and how it's being treated. Because I guarantee you, if this thing was sitting in somebody else's neighborhood, it wouldn't look like this. And according to the research that I think it was Monsanto had a hand in doing this thing here, and the Mound. Let me say something about the Mound. You know how the Mound got the name, the Mound? Because it was built on Indian burial mounds. That's why they call it the Mound. I don't think you can get much more disrespectful than that. That's like going to Greencastle Cemetery, digging all that land up, putting a building there, and then you call the building Greencastle Building. Come on, y'all. We could do better than this. That's why they call that the Mound, because mounds are Indian burial ground, and they call it the Mound. That's true. I ain't making this stuff up, folks. You can research it for yourself. You know, when I seen that, boy, I had to scratch my head. I was like, man, how far do we got to go before we turn this thing around? You know, this is just environmental racism. You know, environmental racism, that's all it is. And I would hope that this Dayton Project and that building over there, I would hope it gets some attention. You know, let some city officials, see and hear what I just said. Let them see it. Let them respond. Let some state officials see that. Because, that's the neighborhood. I live around that neighborhood. And I'm looking out for these kids that go around there and play in these places and all that debris and whatever's over there. I don't know what's over there because I I only seen from the fence, but I didn't like what I seen. So I'm going to be bringing you this news, and hopefully I'll be bringing it to you maybe once a week or once every other week, but be on the lookout. This is the start. It's not a finish, and I'll say it again. You got to vote, people. And I tell you what, after the election, even if my candidate of choice don't win, I'm going to still hold people accountable. That's the way it works. We got to hold people accountable. We talk about we want to change the system, then we also have to talk about changing folks in the system that's not doing what they're supposed to do. And we know a bunch of them not doing what we're supposed to do. Maybe after this election, I can get maybe I can get the prosecutor come on the show and tell us how the prosecutor office work, because I know there's a lot of questions. And so, that's Mac Heck at the time. He's the Montgomery County prosecutor. Maybe I'll get him on the show and we'll have a discussion on how the prosecutor work. Maybe that'd be for the next show. Who knows? But like I say, until then, we're going to keep on looking out. We're going to make sure we look out. We're going to make sure we vote. We're going to make sure we take somebody down to the voting polls, because that's the most important thing today. So watch out for your ballot. If you put the application in, your ballot should be mailed out starting on October the 6th. Now, you may not get it October the 6th, but after October the 6th, the ballots will be mailed out. and you can take it down to the Montgomery County drop box right there at 451 West 3rd. So I want to close with this. There's never a closing, never an ending. I always say there's always a continuation. There's always continuation. And until next time, may God bless you and your family.